And hello and welcome to MMOFTW Live with myself, Bill Murphy, and Rob Graculin Lashley. Say hi, Rob.
Hello, everyone.
He was just doing his Bane impression, but now he doesn't want you guys to hear it, so go ahead.
Awesome. I will kill you all.
I'll be totally amazed. Well, we have two viewers, but that's probably just me and you. It's very early on a Saturday morning, but that's how we actually have to roll for now. Maybe one day we'll change the time, but Rob's got family, I've got family, and this is what works for now. So, if you
Kids.
and he has kids, and your kids live in the darkness. Anyway, uh, so if you don't know what MMOFTW from MMORPG.com is all about, it is a weekly recap of all the news that's fit to chat about, I guess, in MMOs. This week we have some pretty crazy topics, I guess you could say. We have the whole War Z controversy, which I'm sure many of you know about, and if you don't, you will after this. We have WoW's 5.2 patch announcement, which just shows you how fast Blizzard is actually trying to upgrade their patch development cycle these days. We have the rise of the Hutt Cartel Star Wars The Old Republic expansion, or quote-unquote expansion, I guess. We have the Age of Wushu's second beta, which began. I know Rob's been playing it. I still haven't had a chance, so we'll just let him talk on that one. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Darkfall beta launch. We can't really talk about the game because, well, we're not in it, but we can talk about the road that Aventurine has had getting there. And of course, we will also talk about the Defiance beta signups, which began at vonbachindustries.com this week, scheduled to start beta in January, actually. So, without further ado, I think we should get started, right, Rob?
Sounds good to me.
All right. War Z. What about it?
Debacle?
Debacle. Okay, one word comes to mind. We'll forget about debacle. We'll do word association. Daisy.
Not the Warzy.
That's not one word. Warzy.
Daisy.
Zombies.
Warzy.
Daisy.
Warzy. Zombies.
Okay, we're gonna stop that. That's getting crazy.
Yeah.
But for those of you that don't know, the War Z is essentially
Rip
a
off?
yeah, maybe. Essentially a modified version of Hammerpoint Interactive's War Incorporated, which is just a military first-person shooter. They claimed that they were working on the War Z long before the DayZ got popular, but in any case, they started making their own sort of quasi-zombie MMO as soon as Rocket 2 Guns' game got very popular. Needless to say, it was in alpha almost immediately, and then in beta like a week or two after that. Okay, probably more like a month or two after that. And now it's launched, and it was launched on Steam under false pretenses. It doesn't have any of the features they claimed it to have. It doesn't quite work as well as they said it would work. Pretty much everything that they've been selling the game as is not in it, and yet they're considering it Foundation launched as of, I believe, Monday the 17th or Tuesday the 18th. And needless to say, crap blew up all over the place, all over the internet. There were memes galore, people pointing out their bad practices, their inability to refund people, the arrogance of the developers that were actually helping certain players spawn camp other players and cheat at the game, and it just goes on and on and on. And then there were interviews with the lead producer on the game that really shed the company in a bad light, and I don't know, man. I've been playing the game a little bit, and I know it's rough. I've even written the fact that it's rough, but I do think that there's potential there. It just seems like to me that there's no chance it could ever reach that potential anymore.
That's what happens when you crap all over your player base.
Yeah, and they player. It's funny. I was listening to like some radio story about how it used to be that the press would be the ones that would come out and say something bad about a company, and it was only if the press got wind of something you were doing wrong in business, then it was bad because the consumers didn't have a voice. But these days, with social media and just the internet in general, players definitely have a voice, don't they?
Without a doubt. We saw, I think this actually kind of ties back into a topic we had last week, really good, was the fact that Aventurine delayed Darkfall. Whether or not you like the fact that they decided to announce that the day before it was supposed to go live, I mean, they really came out and said, hey, the game's just not ready.
Yeah.
Now, on the complete opposite side of that coin,
Oh, I think your Skype cut out, buddy. You can hear me though,
I,
can't you? Nope,
yeah, I
you're
think
back.
my mic cut out. My
You're
mic
back.
cut out for a
Okay.
second. Yeah, where
The opposite
the
side of
complete
the coin.
opposite happened. Opposite side of the coin. Complete opposite thing happened with War Z. They rushed it out. They slapped it up on Steam. I guess did they go through the green light process?
I
And
don't
that's how
even.
they.
Did they go through the green light process? Because you have to get player votes for that. I'd be surprised, but maybe they did.
Well, if you get enough of your early adopters that are alpha, that are thinking that the game's probably going to be better than what it was in the alpha,
Well, they
to go
definitely
ahead and
they sold a lot of copies. I think they said something around like 500,000 people bought into it.
yeah. So you have all these people that would upvote it and say yes or whatever,
Mhm.
and have it go good on Steam, and then it's not what it should be, and now you've got all these fans that are out there with their torches
Mhm.
and chasing you down, Frankenstein.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's hard to come back from that, especially when it's really, your claim to fame, because who's really heard of the military shooter that it was based off of?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
there's just a bajillion of them out there.
This is what they'll be known as now. The company
Yeah.
that made the War Z, and the game's got great premises. Their design documents, their I guess you could say their list of stuff that they wanted to include makes it sound fantastic. But the fact that they never got those in before they actually considered the game launched, although Sergei Titov will say, well, it's foundation launch because we can say it's out of beta, but we still have these features to come, and that's just not what you're going to do, because if you're selling the game and you're taking money for it and you're telling players it's out of beta, it's launched, it better have all the features you claim it's going to have, or there's going to be hell to pay.
Now,
And go ahead.
I think this is something we're going to kind of talk about towards the end of the show, but if they would have said that at the beginning and said,
Yeah.
look, this is a smaller scale game, we've only really had this much funding to develop it to this point.
Mhm.
Now we're going to release it to the public, and hopefully, if enough of you like it and purchase it, we can build on it from here, and we can continue to expand the game. But I think we're putting the cart. We're going to talk about that later on.
Yeah.
But anyway, if they'd have spun it right and they would have claimed it is what it is instead of trying to sell it as something else,
Yeah.
it could have been a lot different.
If they would have said right from the start that we will work towards these features, but here's what we're going to have at launch for sure, and that's a good case. I think most MMO developers learned that early on, and these guys are kind of new and they are kind of small. But most MMO developers learn that you don't promise something that you can't really deliver. And if in the cases that we know that people have said this is going to happen and then didn't deliver, there's the similar sort of backlash, but never quite to this magnitude, I guess. Is there anything else we want to say about that? I feel like it's been retread the entire week.
I'll put my stick down because that horse is dead.
Yeah, exactly. We've beat it enough, but we'll have to see.
See if I got that gif out there where the smiley's just sitting there beating the horse laying on his back.
If they can pull things together and actually get some of the features like stronghold servers and the skill system and all that stuff together within the next couple months, they might be able to turn or salvage something. But I don't know. It's going to be rough watching it. That's for sure. But we'll move along to another whipping boy of the MMO hardcore. That is WoW's 5.2 announcement. Now I don't have a trailer for it. All I have is this. Wow, it's 5.2 announcement. And then there's pandas and things. It's great.
I don't.
Anyway,
There's pandas in my MMO, Bill.
so let me give you a little background. I think this is fair game. It was Thursday night. Yeah, because yesterday was Friday. Thursday night, I got an email from Blizzard's PR that says, you better be up at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. PST because we got some major news coming. And I'm like, okay. So I email him back and I said, I'm on the East Coast. Is this really going to be major news? Like, should I stay up? And he goes, I really would, man. And I'm like, okay. So I go to sleep for like 3 hours and I wake up at about 2:30 and go to my desk and start getting everything ready to, yeah, he's crying for me. But then all that happens is the announcement of 5.2. I was very sad. 5.2 looks fantastic. We'll talk about it in a minute, but the fact that I had to wake up at 3 a.m. on a Friday and it was rough for it. I was really hoping for Titan. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
But in any case, so the 5.2 announcement comes. It is carrying with it, let me look at the patch notes here. We have a new daily quest hub, new raid, the Throne of Thunder. Legendary quest continues. A whole bunch of new world bosses. You can actually buy the farm in Pandaria that players have been able to use all these days. It's like an instance. What do they call it? Not an instance. A phased farm. It's like your own farm, so it's sort of like player housing. There's a whole new world boss system, so that any player of the same faction can tap that world boss. And as long as you're fighting it, you don't have to be grouped up. You don't have to be raided. You can get credit and get potential loot from that world boss, as long as you're part of the horde or the faction. The faction that you choose. And then, of course, there's a whole slew of different class changes and things like that. The angle I want to work with this, because Rob, you don't really play a lot of WoW lately, do you?
No, like we talked about last week. I think I have an active subscription from when the annual passed to get Diablo 3 and to beta test Mist, but I never bought a copy of Mists of Pandaria. Now, unpaid for our plug, they actually have it. Today's one of those half-off deals on Amazon, so you can get the physical collector's edition or the regular one for half off. You can go look it up for yourself. I can't post a link on the video, but
plus we're
so if you got Christmas gifts, there you go.
Yeah, we have our contest going on too. We can plug that too. If you go to MMORPG.com, there's a little down the screen. You'll see the contest and special offers on the left side. There's a World of Warcraft Mists of Pandaria signed collector's edition giveaway. If you feel like entering that, but you won't get that before Christmas. You can enter it.
God damn it! All right, so anyways, the whole daily quest thing is kind of like, oh god, it's a cheap, easy mechanic. Yeah. I understand why they do it, because you actually talked about this last night.
Players love it.
With Matt. Well, yeah, yes and no. It's cheap and easy content. You spend 4 months making something really nice and fleshed out, and then everybody's done with it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of satiate that player base for content and not have to spend 4 months working on it? Well, you create a bunch of chained daily quests that unlock additional daily quests, and then they just sit there and grind. Yeah, and grind rep. It's like, they could almost... At this point, I would think Blizzard's done it so often that they could just plug the variables into their computer, hit the button, and it just randomly pops out. This is going to be the Sunstrider of Death-Defying Magic faction, and you'll have to do these 3 quests, and they're going to open up these 5 additional quests, and they're going to open up these 10 daily quests at the end, and then you're going to be able to get 5,000 rep a day, and at that you'll spend 35 total days. You'll be exalted, and you can get the purple.
Yeah, that's it.
And then, if you're really lucky, a random mount's going to drop off something.
That's kind of indicative.
Hire me, Blizzard.
That's kind of indicative of the problem that I think World of Warcraft's running into after all these years. Is when it came out, that kind of stuff was acceptable anymore. It's just, at least to me and to I guess a lot of MMO players that are playing these games day in and day out, it's like, no, can we get something else already? But yet the game still has so many players.
I was going to say, if it's part of your lifestyle, and for a lot of people, good or bad, WoW is a part of their lifestyle. It's not just a hobby. I mean, it helps define who they are and what they do. It's similar to things. It's just the same that you did yesterday. You come home, do whatever, eat dinner, maybe.
Yeah, play WoW.
Play WoW, go to bed at 2 in the morning, get up at 5, and no, I'm just kidding. But and that's just what they do. So it's a continuation. It feels normal. It keeps them sane in the routine. So
and there's something to be said for for the mythos and in general the feeling of WoW. To me, there's actually a lot of the art. I like the art style. I like the world that they've created. I know that there are some things that I think they take a little too lightly, and it's a little too jokey. But as a longtime player of Orcs and Humans all the way up to WoW, I think there's there's almost a sense of nostalgia. I always want to go back to it, but I can't anymore because the gameplay itself is dated to me. But it still has a special place in my heart. I think a lot of MMO players that have been playing it for a long time maybe feel the same way, and they can't quite cut that cord.
If you could make a book,
yeah,
once the Mist of Pandaria expansion's done and they go on to whatever's next, and it summarized the main storylines for the Mist of Pandaria, I would buy that book and read it because I am invested slightly into WoW's lore. I do appreciate what they've done with Azeroth. Not so much with the whole Pandarians. I mean, I get it, right? We all know The Pandarians were there way long ago. But seriously, when you turn your April Fool's joke into an actual real thing a couple years later, how can we really take you that seriously?
People love that April Fool's joke though. They love
It
Sten
was great.
Stormstout, and
It was amazing.
they were
But I
also
mean,
those original drawings. They were much more. They were a lot less fluffy. Let's put them that way. Those
yes.
original drawings, they were a lot more badass, and then they turned them fluffy.
But we've sat here and said some bad things about. Well, I think there's some really great things that have come out with these patch notes. The fact that you've got your phased house, which is purchasable now, and that it acts like an inn for you is a step in the right direction for people that have dug their farm. Open tapping for faction-based world mobs.
I hope that's a
great.
test. I hope that's like a test bed for the rest of the game, because one of the biggest things going back into WoW for me after for Miss Pandaria, when like Guild Wars 2 had been out, was the fact that I couldn't help somebody that was trying to fight a mob that wasn't in a group with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely help them, but there was no incentive to. Like, because everything you do in Guild Wars 2, like, it gets you experience and gets you loot, and a lot of other games now are starting to do that. I feel like it needs to. It would be great for the community if they did that.
Here's something for me: the Secret World, and then followed up by Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
Active dodging.
Active
it's
dodging.
so odd to not be able to go active dodge in an MMO.
Yep.
Just make double tap. Give me active dodge in WoW. Give me active dodge in Rift. Go back and add these features because you know what? They're cool.
But the whole combat system in WoW is built around that tab targeting. There's no
so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there's no like area. There are some area effects, but it would be so minimal that you would ever need to use it.
Yeah. But I really think that can help drive the conflict, though. If they're definitely trying to get back to the conflict between the factions, having world bosses that drop meaningful loot.
Yep.
Where it's an announcement. Give a zone-wide announcement.
Go
give
kill this mother.
Give an announcement in like a PvP channel. Do something to where, hey, Doomlord Kazakh of the Internal Fire come back fifth time has spawned in, on the back of the turtle.
Yeah. And
Everybody go attack it, and then next thing you know, you've got a zone that's like crashing because you've got people that are just the Horde tagged it, and because they're the best, and then the Alliance are coming to attack them, and you got that back and forth going on, and you have that world PvP. You've got that Terran Mill feel going on. You have an objective. That's everybody.
I've taken a look at Landfall, which was their 5.1 patch, and that really does, like, it gears it towards that war. Like, they're building towards something. This patch takes another step kind of sideways from that. Like, Landfall's still there, but patch 5.2 is mostly about the sort of PvE content. And from what I gather, that's kind of how it's going to go. It'll be like one patch focuses on the war, another patch focuses on something else, and then the next patch focuses again on the war, all leading up to, what's that, what's the warlord's name right now? I can't. It's Hellscream. Grosh Hellscream, is that his name?
Garish
Hellscream.
Yeah, like that.
Being just a total, dick.
That was
always
a
the
long
case.
time ago.
But
that's, you knew that.
They're
before
building up.
Cataclysm came out.
They're building up this entire cycle of WoW will build up towards taking him down. Like, the players will actually take him down. So that'll be pretty interesting. And after that happens, I guess the war is really in full effect after that point. So whatever the next expansion is, people are expecting a lot of Horde versus Alliance, Orcs versus Humans all over again. So we'll see. I think WoW's definitely getting long in the tooth. Is that the right phrase? But I still hold a lot of respect for those guys, and it'll be interesting to see if their speed of patching can sort of keep interest in this expansion for a long time.
Without a doubt. I mean, the only thing that's ever going to kill Blizzard, or the only thing that'll ever kill WoW, is going to be Blizzard.
Yeah,
as long as they keep making patches and expansions for WoW, people are going to keep playing the game. Look at, amazingly enough, if you look at some of the games we've had on the end of year awards, some of those have been around for a while. It got amazing amounts of votes for games that I would have never even thought to, like Wizards 101. And look how many people play that game.
Tons of people, and everybody thinks it was them offering items, but they're not. Like, we actually looked into it. It's just they said, well, we told our fans to go vote, and they have a crap ton of fans that went and voted, like loyal fans. people love that game and that company, and I think the same thing can be said of WoW too.
Exactly.
Well, much more could be said about WoW. I mean, it's not
But
many companies that have a convention devoted to their entire product line.
that's true. And just one last thing, and we'll
Yeah.
hop off our soapbox here, I guess. You've seen Turbine create high res, patches for their clients.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Well, I kind of understand. Blizzard wants to keep the whole lowest common denominator to allow people with lower end machines to play the game, but they can do it. They can go in there and they could update the game and freshen it up.
I feel like
give it a facelift if they want to. Yeah, they're doing the
with that water, like with the water was like a first step to see if they can get that working, and that worked in the last patch or last expansion. Like it's
they're also.
now.
I believe I just read something that said they're working on the character models from the original vanilla WoW, which have never been really touched on.
If you look at the Pandaren, they're just head and shoulders above the other models, and they're going back through every single one of them, including the Blood Elves and the Draenei and everything. So we'll see how long that takes, though.
My Tarn looks like a stick figure.
The gnomes look terrible. I remember how awesome those little guys looked. Like I'm like, oh wow, how cool are they? They're annoying, but they're cool looking. And now they just look bad. I'm gonna make that face again. Ooh. Okay, moving right along. We're coming up to the Star Wars: The Old Republic, which had some pretty big news this week. With we don't have a trailer for it, but the Rise of the Hutt Cartel expansion was announced. It will be $9.99 for subscribers, so it's like a DLC, and $20 for free members that want to buy it. Well, I'm hesitant to call this an expansion. I think that was a term they used because
that makes a million of us.
Yeah, but it's great that there's a whole new planet, a level cap raise, and a whole bunch of new content. It's missing all the other parts of what would normally be an expansion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Didn't they already add one planet just through the patch cycle?
No, I think that's the planet they're adding, isn't it?
Oh, see, hey, look at that, right? Yeah. Okay, so a little backhanded slap there. They're giving the planet that was supposed to be a content patch.
Yeah. Oh, your mic cut out again.
Sorry,
that's okay.
Cut out there. They can call it what they want.
Yeah.
It doesn't, change the fact that it's the closest thing in the patch to me that is nearest an expansion, I should say. Let me try that again. The closest expansion-like item in this patch is the level cap increase to me.
Yeah.
It's typically indicative of an expansion. You don't really do that on a patch. But other than that, everything else is okay. This is a patch.
Yeah.
This is a content patch.
There's no class content though. Like the whole planet is just an addition. It's just a planet storyline.
Yeah.
So players have been waiting for the continuation of their class stories, and they thought they would be coming with their first expansion or big content upgrade like this, and
I would assume so.
Yeah, but I mean that makes sense because the budget has changed. But you don't tell again. This goes back to the War Z. You don't tell people that's something you're going to do unless you can really do it. And I don't think we're ever going to see the continuation of class stories. Or if we do, it might be like one class at a time. Like this month, you can pay $9.99 for your Sith Inquisitor storyline.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Targeted DLC maybe.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we got. They could make a ton off that, I guess.
Yeah.
But say, hey, this month we're gonna have $5, but we're not gonna give it to you for $5. We're gonna charge you $15 for it.
Yeah, the price is another story.
Yeah, you can take your trooper, and now you can really take your squad and go do some cool stuff with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
but
just
the rest of you guys are screwed.
I think
Until next month.
Everybody's waiting with beta. I know I am anyway. Like I do like the parts of this game. There are parts that I admire and I like to play, but I really want a better space game. I thought they'd be fun. They are fun once, those sort of Star Foxian space missions, but man, just like Star Wars Galaxies, if the Old Republic had like an open space game right from the start where you could be a true bounty hunter or be a true what's the word I'm looking for?
Quit talking that sense, Bill.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, I like what BioWare has done in certain things, and obviously
We only had like $200 to $300 million. I don't
yeah.
know what you're thinking about by possibly making that. That would have just cost another $100 million.
Speaking of dead horses, man, I don't understand why they thought that spending all that money just on cinematics and voice work was a good idea. But that's probably a show. We could do a whole show on that, I think, even today.
You know, if Michael J. Fox and the Professor showed up with their
Great
DeLorean
Scott!
from 1984, and they went back to like 1990 and they released this game, it'd be like,
Oh my God, win!
we'd all be like this, and it would be a great MMO. But
And
it's
that you can say that too. Like it took 5 years to make, or 7 years to make, or something ridiculous, and that's the development cycle killed it. But at the same time, it took 7 years from start to finish to make Guild Wars 2, and the receptions were maybe highly different. But then again, how much of that can be tied to the fact that you don't have to pay a subscription to Guild Wars 2?
they made a different game too.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's not like a copycat.
They didn't make a photocopy of another game.
Yeah.
What
game would that be?
Not that SWTOR is a straight photocopy, but
What game would that be again? Look at the stream.
I don't know.
What game would that be? Okay, going back. Anyway. So, in any case, the Star Wars The Old Republic will have its first, I guess, paid DLC.
Great comment from the chat room. Got to throw this one in the stream. They didn't
even
even give us Ewoks.
You're absolutely right. Is that Kelithar?
Yes.
Hi, Kelithar. But you're right, they didn't give us Ewoks. If they had, the whole thing would have been different. I am going to keep watching this game, though, because it's like the guys that are left on that title are trying so hard, and with all the changes in management and the fact that all the people that got the game in trouble in the first place are gone, I'm interested to see if the people remaining at BioWare can turn the ship around and turn it into something that's worth picking up every so often, because it is free to play. There have been massive changes to the coin shop. There have been a ton of changes to the game in general since it went free to play, and it's just I don't know. I say give it a year and we'll see where it's at.
Yeah, I agree. Watching the trends, I mean, there was a lot of backlash when it first went free to play, and then they kind of lightened up on the restrictions. They did listen and they responded. I think this is maybe one of those things that they were trying to see what they could get away with.
Mm-hmm.
It may cost them even more goodwill. It may be one of those things like, you know what, we listened to you, maybe we charge too much, we bring the price back down.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see that anyways. I think maybe the first month it'll be this, and then after that it'll probably be half the price.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see if the IP is strong enough to keep this game going for year after year.
Yeah,
or if
this should be.
Go ahead.
This should be something that is free for subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, there's
plain out simple, not $10.
Yeah, this shouldn't cost anybody anything if you subscribe to the game.
$10 for the actual
Yeah.
DLC, no matter if you're a free player, and then free
I'd say maybe
for subscriber.
15 if you're a free player, because you get everything else for
Level
free.
cap, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, because did they add new skills in with that level cap? You'd think so.
Most likely.
They can't just give you new points and
Yeah.
not give you a new skill. I mean, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. If they did, well, then we could talk about this next week and be like, what the hell were they thinking there? Hey, give me some new skill points.
You
Don't
have,
give me
you
any
have a
new
whole bunch of
skills to
new
buy.
HP to gain.
Yeah. So, charge people that are free players. I could totally get that as a DLC that they have to pay for. But if you're subbing to this game, there's no reason you should have to pay for this content update.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, expansion.
Let's go to Age of Wushu here. Then we'll go away from Star Wars because I feel like we're picking on them, but we're not. It's a good game that just has a few major issues, but it'll get there. I hope. Age of Wushu. This is just one of the strangest games. I read the other day that there's actually a class, or I should say a school of martial arts where you have to get castrated. Your character gets castrated as part of his progression in that school. I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't. All I know is that's awesome. But
Next topic.
So the Age of Wushu second beta began. This is for anybody that signs up on the website. You don't even have to pay I think $20 to buy the game, but you can get in and play for about 10 hours and sort of see what it's like. It's almost like an open beta. I don't know an extreme amount about this game. All I do know that there are things like when your character logs out, he can he can have a job, so he stays in the world as an NPC, maybe like sweeping the streets or selling some fruit or something like that, and then
Or being a beggar.
or being a
You can
beggar.
sit there and lay there, and seriously, your character sits there kind of lays in the prone position. It was like, give me money.
Yeah,
I need food.
and it's like a sandbox, isn't it too? Like I heard
Yes.
somebody said it's not really like a questing grinding game. It's like this world where you have these several schools of martial arts. Is there PvP, Rob? Like, how much have you played it? I should say.
I didn't really get a chance to get into it. This new beta just came. This beta just started on the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
The second beta, so I haven't got a chance to hop back in there. I know that there are different schools of martial arts. There's the good schools, and there's the bad schools, and there's kind of neutral schools. So, the whole PvP dynamic is built in there as far as how it's functioning. I don't know that they had that enabled last time. Maybe they turned it on for this time. You get to do different mechanics where you can actually jump up off the walls. You can jump while you're jumping. So there's lots of, it's supposed to kind of play like a kung fu movie.
Yeah, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is what it reminds me a lot of. That sort of style of like fantastic martial arts, like fantasy martial arts. I also love NYC Playboy reminded me. When you log off, you have a chance to get kidnapped and brought into slavery.
Best
awesome.
thing in a game ever.
Could you imagine doing that?
Horrible in real life.
Yeah, horrible in life.
Absolutely
Right.
terrible in real life. Hilarious as something that could happen to you in a video game. You log back in, and your guy's like on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
It's like, where am I going?
This I do think
What's
that
up with this?
I haven't even played it yet. I'm going to this weekend, but I gotta say that it's probably one of the most intriguing sounding MMOs that's coming out, and you have to pay $10 to get it. I mean, that's what another correction there. It's not 20, it's $10 to get it. Definitely something to look into and to look forward to. And we'll have, I think, our Sam Porfazana, who's our podcast host and one of our writers and our game list manager, he's going to be reviewing it. And believe it or not, Sam is some master of some sort of martial arts. He's like a several degree black belt in something. Who knows? I'm not familiar, but he knows his shit. So if you want to get into Age of Wushu, go to ageofwushu.com. Pay $10 and you can have unlimited access to the beta, or just sign up and you get 10 hours of free play to see what it's like. I think that's enough for that one, right, Rob?
I think the 10 hours will be plenty for you to figure out whether or not you want to bother with it anymore.
Exactly. I think most games, to see if you actually want to bother with it, only take about 1 to 2 hours, right? I mean, that's as a reviewer, we have to play it for a lot longer than that to get into everything. But you can know if you're gonna like a game within a couple hours. I'm betting.
I've had some surprise me. The Secret World, the first time I sat down and played it in beta, I was like, I don't have anything to do with this again.
Oh, really? But then you loved it.
And then I played a different one, and I was like, oh my god, I can't get enough of this game.
See, that's the danger of betas too, is because Secret World in beta early was pretty rough, and then as they hit towards the end, I was like, oh my god, it all came together. The only thing that was still weak to me was the combat, but I was able to look over that because of everything else.
My biggest argument to people that say, oh, the combat, I don't play MMOs to be fighters. If I did, I'd go play like Tekken or something, which... That shows you what I know about fighters, because I think Tekken was like, a couple generations ago. Yeah. Whatever the big fighter is anymore. Street Fighter 10 Turbo XLZ, whatever.
I feel like Secret World's combat, this is going off on a tangent, but I feel like Secret World's combat would have actually been better if it was more traditional combat instead of build, finish, build, finish. I feel like if you didn't have to always worry about that mechanic of building, then finishing, it wouldn't feel as repetitive, but that's just me.
Yeah, kind of riftish.
Yeah.
Builder, finish.
Just like Rogue. Like the Rogue in WoW is all I think of when I think of that class, or that sort of combat. But moving on from Age of Wushu to Darkfall, Unholy Wars. Its beta began, finally. What day? Let's see, the 20th? Yeah, the 20th, I think. Or maybe even the 21st. No, let me go back. When did it begin? This week. But it was very delayed. It was coming late. I'm looking at the news right now, because those poor guys at Aventurine, they're a small team with a lot of weight on their shoulders right now. There's a rabid fan base that wants this game, and wants it now. And we were just talking about it earlier, that when they announced at the last minute that they had to cancel the launch and do a beta, everybody freaked out. But man, can you imagine if a game like if it came out like the War Z and they launched it and it was a turd, compared to saying, hey, let's own up. This really needs a good few months in beta to polish it, and then you guys can have it. And for those of you who have pre-ordered, you can play in the whole beta, because we know that you're probably the fans of the original Darkfall, and you're going to help us make the game what it needs to be. But dude, I gotta say, I'm hearing mixed details from inside the beta. I can't say any names about folks that have played it, but they say it's buggy, but a lot of fun. And that's kind of a good sign, I guess. Buggy but fun, because, it could be buggy and crappy, right?
Well, you know how to have been buggy and really pissed off people is if you would have said, "Hey, this is the
This
release."
is launch. It's
Yeah,
foundation launch.
Yeah, as opposed to saying, "We're not ready. We're gonna make this a beta," and then everybody logs on. I mean, it took them like almost 20 hours after they were originally supposed to launch.
Yeah.
I mean, you kept seeing Ripper, send out messages like, "I'm eventually going to be live streaming."
Yeah, but he can't. He can't live stream it.
because I can't log into it.
And the NDA's up. He's like, so can I stream it because I'm press? I'm like, no, dude, the exact opposite. If you stream it because you're press, we're all in trouble. Don't stream it.
Oh, that's a
NDA
good thing that the beta didn't go live for him. Then
we get in. Press beta gets in. I think the 27th is what we're told around then. It is. I can download it now, but the problem is I'm on Windows 8 and the download doesn't seem to work. Like, they have this lobby and it doesn't. The lobby crashes upon launching, so I'm waiting to see if we can figure that out. I might not be playing the game because that's not like I'm going to go back to Windows 7 for Darkfall. But hopefully.
So now we know how much you care about Darkfall.
No,
I like it. I'll download it and play it. Not going to change operating systems
I wouldn't change my operating system for any single game, even if it was like the greatest MMO ever. I wouldn't. I'd be
WoW.
like,
2.
WoW 2. Yeah, if it was WoW 2, I'd be like, well, that sucks. It's too
I
much
think
of
if
a
we put a
hassle.
new operating system in.
Too much of a hassle to downgrade an operating system for a game. But I am looking forward to Darkfall, and I know for a fact that those guys at Aventurine, like, they get a bad rap because of all the problems they've had, but they're a small indie company when you think about it. Like, they're still just an independent developer. They don't have a might of a major publisher and all this money to hire, like, tons of developers behind them. They're just a group of guys in Greece who really want to make a kick-ass PvP game, and hopefully things go well, and we'll find out soon whether or not it really does.
It's fantabulous.
It is fantabulous.
I really think they made a good call.
Yeah.
I really can't express enough how much I think that it was a good decision, other than the timing of it all. To say it the day before, I can understand how you're going to really piss some people off.
Yep.
But the proof was there. People logged into the game. They were stuck on top of each other because of collision detection. So you got like a mass of people that are all popping up at the same spawn point. You can't move around.
It's like a sausage fest.
It's like I'm stuck in this box. How did I get in this nutshell? How do I get out of this nutshell?
If that had been launch day and like people were like, there were thousands of people trying to do it at once, could you imagine? I mean,
yeah, I'd be like, here, cancel my payment, here, and let me charge this back to you, and I'm never gonna touch your game again. See ya. Done, because that's how people are. And then now, not only am I going to not play your game, I'm gonna get on Twitter and I'm gonna tell all my friends about how you suck.
Yep.
And then I'm going to get on Facebook, and I'm going to tell all my friends about you suck. And then I'm going to get on Pinterest, and then I'm going to get on Reddit. And then I'm going to go,
Don't forget all the forums that, I'm going to go. I'm going to go on MMORPG. I'm going to go on 4chan. I'm going to go everywhere.
And then I'm going to go into the sewers of Reddit.
Yeah.
Just waller with the rest of the miserable people in society, and like, I'm just kidding, Reddit. I really love you.
No, he doesn't. He hates Reddit. Moving
I love
along.
the premise behind it, but God, it's like fucking bridge with a ton of trolls under it. It's like, argh.
You gotta watch out. There are some good subreddits, like some good communities out there. It depends where you go, and usually they're the small ones. They're like the ones where people don't just pile on because it's popular. Like if you go to like the League of Legends meta Reddit, they're actually kind of cool because they're just there to talk about the meta game of League of Legends. But if you go to like the League of Legends regular subreddit, bunch of a-holes. Sorry, folks. But let's move along here. We're coming up to Defiance, which this week it put out a whole bunch of, like very quietly. There wasn't even really an announcement. I got a little package in the mail that had like a laser pointer pen and like an attaché case, and a little nameplate that says beta, or what does it say? Arc Hunter Recruit. And then there was a letter. I'll read you the letter. Here, I'll hold it up to the camera too. Read you some of the letter. So that's the letter right there. The letter says, Greetings, Arc Hunter. Von Bach Industries welcomes you to the first day of your new career as an Arc Hunter. You have been chosen as an ideal candidate for BVI's forthcoming Advanced Mission Beta, where you'll be one of the first to experience evolutionary combat on the new frontier. Yada, yada, yada. Goes in through some of the lore stuff. Head over to vonbachindustries.com for more information on all of the above and to register for your chance to wield the weaponry of the future today by joining us on VBI Advanced Mission Beta. We look forward to seeing you on the new frontier, Arc Hunter. Sincerely, Azumi Yoshida, Chief Recruitment Officer of Von Bach Industries. So if you go to vonbachindustries.com here,
I had K instead of H. Sorry about that. There's a good link.
There you go. If you go to vonbachindustries.com, you can sign up for the beta now. You can watch some of the cool sort of videos that the Sci-Fi channel has actually filmed to coincide with the game. It's like recruitment videos that show you some of the skills that you'll have in the game. I've played Defiance at several shows, and it just gets better and better. I bandy around the term that it's like Borderlands, the MMO, but without the humor. And that's kind of what it is, like with the vehicles, the loot, the shooting, and it's a massive open world PvE with sort of closed instance PvP. But I think is it the Shadow War that's like the open world PvP too?
Yes, the Shadow War, you can choose whether or not to participate in it. So you could actually see other people run around in PvP and just not be part of it. You know, you just like, okay, that's cool. Have fun killing each other. I'm going to go do the PvE objective.
Which is a great name for it, like Shadow War. That way it's hidden. Nobody knows what's going on. I don't know what's the lore behind the Shadow War though. Like, you're all Arc Hunters, you're all trying to help reclaim Earth, but why would you be fighting? Do you know? You went to the studio.
Yeah, no, I didn't go to the studio. I went to Toronto to the press event they had. I don't know. I can't remember what the reason behind the Shadow War was, and I don't know that that's actually something that's really going to be talked about in the show either, other than the fact that, you know, it's kind of a war-ravaged country. Yeah. So I guess there's just opposing factions. Well, I don't think that that's necessarily something they had totally fleshed out.
I think when we were there, there's like a military faction that is fighting a more industrial faction or something like that. I remember very briefly what they told us at PAX Prime, but it was like super busy and super loud, and I don't even think the guy knew exactly what he was telling me. So.
Yeah. But it's a really interesting game, without a doubt. It falls in line with the whole MMO FPS or MMO shooter genre that's starting to expand right now with PlanetSide 2 and Firefall. Yeah. This has quite a bit more PvE elements to it than
much more PvE
than what PS2's got. Like, I don't know if you remember, some of you guys I interviewed Tremel. Hey, look at that! I see I said your name right. And Matt Higbee about 6 months ago on Way Back Wednesday, and I was like, hey, what's up with the lore? And they're like, what lore? Yeah. It's like, they're three factions, they kill each other, deal with it.
They don't like each other. Okay. One has alien technology, the other one is trying to pull the world back together, and the other one's a bunch of hippies.
One's the British Empire from the the 1600s.
Meanwhile, you know what I compare Defiance to is it's a lot like Firefall. But Firefall is going to have sort of more like dynamic content is what they're calling it. So think Guild Wars 2 with Firefall's PvE, and then Defiance is actually more mission based and everything like that.
Well, there's going to be missions based, but there's obviously going to be dynamic content in the whole arc.
The arc falls. Yeah.
Which the reason they're arc falls thing
they fall from the sky.
But the arcs are the giant transport ships that the aliens came to Earth on, and these are parts of the ship that are breaking up in orbit and falling into Earth's atmosphere and landing, and they have alien technology, and you have to go and collect it.
And all that stuff.
And bugs. Because there's also things that are attracted to, like there's, non-player character, different races, there's some kind of engineering race that's attracted to these, so they'll go and collect them, and then you have to kill them and salvage the stuff off the arc. And when we saw it, it was more like minor rifts, but it's to the point where, to compare it to the game Rift, there could be, raid ones
Yeah.
further on down the line are ones that generate additional PvE encounters.
Which makes sense because it is Tryon.
Yeah.
It is the same engine as Rift, and it's using the same server technology. And like I always thought to myself when I was playing Rift, like, man, this stuff would be cool in a shooter, and voila, it's there. But there's gear. I think there's like a level progression system that they're not really talking about yet. They say it's going to be something unique that we haven't seen before, so we'll see about that. You can see a little taste of it in this video that's playing. There's like a massive skill tree, and I assume that's what they're talking about. There's also vehicles. There's the match-made PvE, which is sort of like, I think they call the match-made PvP, not match-made PvE, but the match-made PvP is like entertainment. It's like sporting PvP. Like that's how they refer to it in the universe, in the lore. And then, of course, there's the Shadow War. And then there was something else that I wanted to say about the game. I'm just trying to think of what it was. It's off the top of my head now. You have anything else to add, Rob?
I liked the quad runner. There was a nice bug in it when we were playing it, and you could actually hit certain things, and it would act like a trampoline, and it would just launch you like way into space. You're like, ah. And I was like, hey, this is fun. They're like, what? I was like, look at this. I run into rocks. Like, you would run into a rock, and you would think that you would just stop, but instead it would you'd hit the rock, and then it would like propel you, like just launch you. It was hilarious.
It's the physics are actually quite awesome in the game. It's just there's still gonna be bugs like that. There's the one
jumping into trees and getting stuck in the tree.
But you're stuck like this because that's how you jump. Like I did that. I did that at PAX Prime. I'm sure it's gonna hopefully be gone by launch. But the game.
I actually hope it stays, especially for the PvP aspect, because it gets you into a tree, and you can because then you dismount and you're in the tree, and you can be like, hey, I got my sniper rifle, and I'm in a tree, and you're like sniping people. That'd be great. Yeah. Come on, tell me that wouldn't be hilarious. You're like, walking around, and the next thing you get shot, and someone's in the tree. It's like, haha.
It's interesting. I'm watching this video right now. They've got the UI up for the inventory. It seems like it's very geared towards the console. I think the console will probably be using the same UI as the PC, but it bugs me because I wish that the inventory UI would just be like traditional bags with little squares that you can move. I don't like the whole list idea, but there's the skill tree too. You've got, it looks like you start off with one major skill in a corner, and then you have to open other ones to kind of go deeper and closer into the tree, which makes me think that there's going to be a bunch of like synergy between skills and things like that, and you won't really have classes in this game. But all that info will hopefully be coming soon because the game comes out in April, and that's 4 months away now. But definitely looking forward to it. I'm interested to see also if it's going to be free-to-play or subscription. I'm going to lean towards the former. I bet money it'll be free-to-play because it's going to be on the consoles as well. But okay.
They wouldn't talk about it.
No, they won't. I asked. They'll be telling us soon. I bet money, though. I mean, 4 months away and beta. They got to tell somebody. But look at those bugs. Like, everything looks great. Like, it's just a very cool-looking game, I think. I like the art style. But, okay, moving on to our community spotlight, our final topic for the day. This one was Rob's idea. It was, what would happen if people started making more small-scale MMOs in the future? Well, I'm going to let Rob take it since it's his topic, and I'll just chime in.
Okay, so here's the thought. We see these games like started off as mods that grow and spin off and create their own MMO. Like, let's ignore Warzy for the minute and focus on DayZ. It's mod for Arma 2, builds up enough steam because people want to play it. Now we see a game that's getting fleshed out and creating a fully functional MMO. It'll be out eventually. I think Eve would even kind of fall into this. I would say. So that could be the perfect storm of what I'm talking about. But it's a smaller scale sandbox MMO where the developer creates a game, says this is the basic rule set, here are the tools, this is what we're going to do. It's out, and now if the community enjoys it and pays for it and supports it, it flourishes and you build from there. If it's not successful, they just kind of wither on the vine and die. And
but they didn't spend $300 million.
Exactly. You didn't spend $100 to $200 million on it. And this is something that I think could be, possibly crowdsourced. Doesn't have to be. I mean, you could even look at Rift. They made that for under $100 million, and which I think was even less than that. But that was their capital. It was
like
investment.
$50 million or something like that for the basic.
That's what they said they ended up spending on the release version of the game. and look at that, and then look at SWTOR, and it's like, where's the $150 million difference
Yep.
in these games?
And because they spent so little money and then managed to have a successful game, Rift was able to add to it at an unprecedented pace with a small staff.
So, my argument is, will we see developers? And I kind of wanted to postulate this for Matt, since he's out of I guess he's still looking.
Yeah.
And you guys touched about this. It's like, I couldn't have anywhere near enough money to make an MMO. Well, why? Why not? Why not just make a game that more of a pet project? If you could get the funding, you'd only need a couple servers. It's not like you'd have to buy huge racks, know. So I know
and
they
you can rent them even. You can lease servers anymore.
Yes, well, especially now. I work in the telecom industry, so I'm going to throw this out there so no one thinks I'm like plugging things. You got a big move in the telco industry for like AT&T and Verizon and all this cloud server infrastructure. You could totally just rent your space from those guys.
We're looking at moving our sites over to like cloud-based servers because it would be so much more stable.
Yeah, and it's probably cheaper too in the long run. So anyways, you could rent space, so the physical limitations aren't there like they used to be. Like when we talked to the Dark Age of Camelot guys, where they're saying, hey, we had to buy so many servers, we couldn't get the right servers, we had to stick them in the colo, which is the co-location point inside of a central office for the phone company, or which when they're talking about a colo, it's probably the phone company. So they got just racks of server blades just laying in there because they don't even have what they need. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. So you've got that cost reduced. So I think now, if anything's the time, you got people that are a little bit more willing to accept indie games. You've got the Humble Bundles pushing indie games to everybody. With, I guess, Marcus Pearson did a great job with making it possible with Minecraft.
Yeah.
Look at that. It went from like a toy to a tool to now it's basically a fully functional game, which has a bajillion people playing it.
And it funded their next major RPG, that just makes my heart sing. I can't wait to see what Notch makes as an RPG.
So that's my thought. What if we've got developers that are willing to do smaller scale MMOs, and then you only have to make it niche. If the Secret World would have been smaller scale and only designed for 50, 60,000, 100,000, and you only have a small team. A lot of the money, I think, anymore is getting dropped into art assets, and that's one of the things that takes a lot of time.
I was just going to say content. Like, if games didn't have to focus entirely on content all the time, and instead had tools in there that were more systems-y, like that they perpetuated themselves, like Eve. I guess we're talking about
systems.
Yeah, if we're talking about sandbox versus theme park, it would be the more sandbox type stuff. And your game comes out with that, as long as they're solid and they're fun, that's really all that matters, and they don't cost nearly as much money, and you don't have to make them every month to keep people interested. It's you're onto something, Rob. Now to go get somebody to make something.
Yeah. Give me some money.
Yeah. Somebody give Rob about $10 million and he'll make you a fun MMO. Well, he won't make it for you. Somebody else will make it. He'll just be there overseeing them. Right, Rob?
Yeah. Realm of the Mad God. That was hilarious. That was a really fun game. I haven't played it in a while, but played the crap out of it for a little bit.
Yeah.
If that's something that constantly had updates, all you need is a small devoted fan base to make some of these things really successful.
Well, look at Worm Online is another one that was actually, that's where Notch started, was with Worm Online, and he left to form his own company. But Rolf, that runs Worm Online, it was just him and like another guy for the longest time, and they finally had enough capital to hire like 3 or 4 other people, and that's just a sandbox MMO, and it's with only 3 or 4 people running it. Think about your overhead there. There's no overhead. You just got to make enough money for these guys to be able to feed their families, and then the rest of the money can be put into development. It's insane.
Exactly, and if you got the tools, you got your community that's going to work things for you.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot of stuff to sift through that's not very good. But there'll be some hidden gems. Look at these modders for like Skyrim, and look at these people that make these maps for Minecraft. They're just phenomenal. Don't ever discount the community to be able to make some really great content. I think it's very narcissistic for some developers to think that they're the only ones that can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot of crap that comes
Well, and
out too.
Kelithar said, he's like, what about people that like living in the same MMO for a few years? And you responded in chat that this isn't for them. But I think that's, it could be for them. A small scale
It
MMO
could.
can still be a game that you play for years because the systems will be there to help sort of
Yeah.
promote that kind of gameplay.
And I guess we mentioned this at the beginning. Eve, I think, is a perfect example of
Yeah.
that. They didn't come out with an MMO they didn't say, hey, we're going to sell this, to 100 million people, or 10 million people. It came out, and even now, I think at the peak, they get like 60,000 people consecutively online, but that's all they need.
Yeah.
They've got a devoted, rabid fan base that
Yeah.
live in that world, that have done some shit in there that parallels anything that's happened in some of the scandals of real life. I mean, just to go back and see some of the things that these corporations that are all made inside the game
Yep.
have done to each other, it's just like mind-boggling. They got spies embedded within other guilds. It's just
You have people like
crazy.
going out of their way to destroy someone's time and effort because it's a PvP sandbox. There is an area that's safe area, which is good, but they're also like the only MMO that I can think of that's this old and still growing. Like they're still getting subscribers and their universe is still growing with Dust, which is either a brilliant and ballsy or a brazen move, Dust 514, or it's like the dumbest move ever. But Dust will completely integrate with Eve, and it'll be a sort of PlanetSide 2 kind of game shooter for the PS3 only, and you'll be able to have a corporation that exists in both games, so a corporation being a guild, so you have a corporation that you can talk with everybody who's playing Dust while you're playing Eve and say, hey, we need this planet, go there and try to take over that planet, and they'll be able to do that. And just, that's kind of mind-blowing stuff, but that's exactly the kind of things you're talking about. Systems, not content that cost you millions to make. It's interesting. I think we're coming upon like a new era in MMOs because it's proven that you can't replicate the success of World of Warcraft by just spending a lot of money. You can't.
Yeah, and I guess another argument too to the whole spending a lot of time. If you find that little perfect little nugget of a world that you love, and you would spend time to help cultivate it, unless you just want to like ride along and then you're not invested. So what do you care if the world shuts down?
That's something to say
If you're
about
not
MMOs.
taking time to spend it, yeah.
Yeah, because like if you don't invest in the MMO, you're not going to get a return from it either.
Yeah.
Like if you just expect things to happen for you when you're playing one of these games, you're probably in the wrong genre. I gotta say, you gotta make it what it is. Like if you like the game, then you gotta make it for yourself, I guess. But that's maybe me. So that ends our topics. We're out of topics. We're out of time. It's 8:57. I want to thank those of you that came by this early in the morning for watching. It was a lot of fun, as always. Next week, I don't know if we're going to have a guest star, but I want to tell you that at the end of January, we will, you guys are hearing it first, the end of January on the 26th, we'll have Colin Johansson from Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet. He'll be talking about the major content updates and stuff that will be coming out in February. I don't know what they are. All I was told is that'll be the perfect time for him to get on here and plug that. Plus, he'll join us and talk about all the other stuff that's going on at the time in MMOs. If you have a suggestion for somebody that you want to see on the show with Rob and I, just shoot an email to editor@mmorpg.com and we will reach out to them and say, hey, these three people want you to come and talk to them at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning and get some coffee and do it because your fans rule. Right, Rob?
Fans rule.
Fans rule.
Adora rules. Sorry, that was probably
that
way
was okay.
loud for people.
Some Billy Madison, that's fine. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Thank you, Rob, for getting up early with me, as always. And we will see you all next weekend. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.